The best iPhone ever will just simply fold into your pocket and it will be known as the iPhone Fold. Apple have filed so many patents over the last few years, and it looks like that an iPhone 16 Fold could possibly coming. But two big questions right now is, when is the iPhone 16 Fold coming and what features will it have inside of it? Right now, two of Apple's most popular products are the iPhone and the iPad. They are super easy to use, and the operating system on both of them, so whether this is iOS 16 or 17 or iPadOS 16 or 17, they are both very similar, and they also share many features between them. Right now, the largest iPhone that you can get is the iPhone 14 Pro Max, what has a 6.7-inch display that you can see here. And also we have the iPad mini, what has an 8.3-inch display. And the question is, could both of these be kind of combined together to make a hybrid device called the iPhone Fold? Right now, loads of other companies makes foldables, so Huawei with the X series, and Motorola with the rebirth of the Razr series. Then we've also had things like Oppo with their Find N2 series, and then also very recently we have the newcomer, the Pixel Fold 2, and then the most popular of them all right now is definitely the Galaxy Fold and the Galaxy Flip range, to name a few. Right now, in my honest opinion, I think Samsung are leading the way with foldable devices, but we do have those other manufacturers, and definitely with Google and also the Pixel Fold, and also they're the main creators of Android behind it. I think we got to watch this space and what they're going to develop soon into the future, and also especially that Samsung and also Google have a very special relationship too. We have actually had some other failed devices too that are foldables, and that's like the Microsoft Duo actually used two screens, and people weren't too keen on this having two screens inside the device. They actually wanted one large display. Foldable phones are slowly creeping into people's pockets, but personally, in my opinion, I think the main reason why people don't want to go over to them just yet is because they're not actually that special in a lot of people's minds, and also the fact with Android right now that most of the apps are actually designed for a standard kind of sort of smartphone. So this is kind of like a letterbox design, and basically the apps are on this kind of sort of screen, like the front of a foldable screen. When you open it up inside to a larger display behind it, a lot of these apps are stretched out, buttons are in the wrong places, menus are kind of weird and wonderful, either too big or too small, and a lot of people are not getting a great experience behind this. So I think this is kind of pushing people off quite a bit with the whole overall experience. Plus also as well, batteries are not the biggest inside of these devices too. But in my opinion, I think this is where Apple could change this. So right now, for example, if you didn't know, the likes of say iPhones and also a lot of the tablets out there actually have smaller batteries compared to a lot of competitors out there. So for example, like the iPhone 14 Pro Max, it only has around about a 4,200 milliamp battery compared to say the Galaxy S23 Ultra has a 5,000 milliamp battery. But yet battery drain tests show that the iPhone 14 Pro Max still beats out the Galaxy S20 Ultra just about in its battery sort of bits and pieces and testing and things like this, what you can find in other YouTube videos out there. And I think if Apple were to apply their sort of A chipsets into a fold device, you can get it, and I think you understand that basically battery life will be far better in one of these compared to say like the sort of foldable phones that Samsung and Pixel are making right now. Then for apps, I also think Apple could win the way here. So using developer tools like Xcode and things like this, a lot of developers out there can actually design all of their apps for all of the iPhone screens out there. All the templates are all in one place. And this is the great thing, I think, about iPhones, is that basically developers, they get all of those tools, all of the sort of different sort of devices out there built into Xcode, whereas with Android developer, you don't really get that because we don't know who's going to be creating the next Android device out there. At the end of the day, iPhones are just made by Apple. So with this, you could actually get apps designed specifically for the Fold screen or the iPhone Fold screen on the outside, and then when you stretch it open on the inside, this could probably switch to say an iPad OS version of the app. And basically I'm sure that Apple could work out some bits and pieces in their Xcode sort of software to make this work, that you would actually get say the iPhone experience on the front, and then when you open it up you'd actually get the iPad experience on the inside, or like an iPad mini experience on the inside. And honestly, I think Apple know this already, and that's why they put in a lot of patents for foldable phones. So have a look at some of the patents that they put in right here. So the first patent that you can see here is probably the patent that Apple are probably most likely going to use. As you can see here, it is a foldable device here, and it's folded sideways with curved walls, as you can see here, and it says it could contain touch surfaces, and this could possibly mean that we could see touch surfaces on the front and the back of the Apple Fold device. We have seen something like this before, so for example the Huawei X series actually had this to begin with on their first ever sort of device. And it's quite possible, looking back here at the patent, that Apple could do this and say store the cameras and the batteries behind this, so you would just have just one screen and it would open up like this. So it wouldn't be exactly like, say, a Galaxy Fold or Pixel actually has, say, two screens. It'd just be one screen, and basically the back screen would get enabled when you fully open up the Fold actual iPhone Fold tablet phone that you see here. The next patent that you can see here looks very similar to the likes of the Microsoft Duo. So the Microsoft Duo, as I mentioned earlier, had two screens inside it, and it was a bit of a failure, to be honest. And I don't think Apple wants to take this approach because they know that, for example, Microsoft failed with this, and lots of other sort of foldable phones out there are just basically one big screen on the inside, one big screen on the outside. And I think that they're probably not going to go ahead with this, but obviously they had to patent it anyway. Another patent that we have here, what's quite a futuristic looking one, is actually having a screen going all the way around the actual whole iPhone. So this would actually be classed as a foldable device because at the end of the day the screen folds all the way around. But personally, I don't see why we would use this. So I think, again, Apple just painted this just in case they were actually going to use this idea, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. The next patent that you can see here is actually a rollable sort of screen. Now, we actually have seen this idea actually come out before, that you could actually have a phone that sort of rolls out. And this is quite possible that Apple could actually go down this route instead. I think this technology needs to be perfected a little bit more. And honestly, in my honest opinion, I'd actually prefer a foldable phone of this kind of design. But with all the other kind of foldable phones at the moment not going down this route just yet, I don't think Apple will be the first ones to jump in on this. The last patent that's been put in, what I just cannot see happening at all, is, do you remember the Nokia banana phone that used to exist years ago? Well, it looks like Apple put a patent in for this. So this is like the banana phone that we saw in like The Matrix, if you ever saw the first one of that. But personally, I don't think Apple will be going down this route of this type of display. It wouldn't really work that well in your pocket either. I think out of all the patents that we've seen here, it's probably most likely going to be that first patent that I showed you guys. So this is a patent maybe with a screen on the outside or screen on the inside, or, you know, two screens like what other foldable phones have right now. I'd love to see that first sort of idea, the one that was very similar to the Huawei X, the first generation, because I think Apple could really sort of jump on this. You could have dynamic island in this, and then also you could still have batteries on the inside and also have a great camera system also on the rear too. So after looking at those patents right there, you can see that Apple definitely are looking to making a foldable device. But the big question is, will we get an iPhone 16 Fold next year? And I think the answer to that is no, we won't. And I think the main reason behind this is because of the state of play with foldables right now. They're not over popular just yet, and Apple don't want to put loads of money into a foldable device if they don't think they're going to sell that well. Also, the fact as well with the current foldable phones, for example, the ones that actually have a full screen on the inside, you always generally get a crease on the inside. Apple are perfectionists. They will not want a crease on the inside of their phone. Don't get me wrong, I think Apple are probably working on a way not to get a crease at the moment in their phones if they're going to make a foldable, but they want to get it absolutely perfect. Don't get me wrong, the Pixel, for example, Pixel Fold, has definitely got a better crease, or less of a crease than compared to, say, the Galaxy Fold right now made by Samsung. And also Razer are really good in making their phones from Motorola as well, that you don't really get a good crease there either, but there is still evidence that it does still exist, and I don't think Apple will want to have a crease inside their phone. They are perfectionists at the end of the day, and with that too, they don't really want their inside screens to be kind of sort of breakable, because right now they're quite sensitive, the screens on the inside as well. So if you were to hit them hard with just your finger, you can actually easily break them, and I don't think that sort of Apple want to venture down that route just yet until they can make their screens inside their foldable devices A, foldable, and B, a bit more tougher too. The other main reason I don't think Apple will want to actually make a foldable right now is because basically it would definitely scupper the sales of their iPads. At the end of the day, Apple right now know that you can buy yourself an iPhone, you can buy yourself an iPad, and you can also buy yourself a Mac. And they don't really want to take away that ability of saying an iPad right now. If you had a foldable phone, why would you need an iPad? They are making money at the end of the day from iPads, and it works quite well at the moment. And the same with iPhones too. Don't get me wrong, the iPad sales are very slowly decreasing, but they're not sort of launching down fast because of foldable phones out there. The main reason why people are not actually going for iPads as much at the moment is because basically they don't see reason why they need to upgrade, say, their iPad every year or two compared to, say, like an iPhone, where people love to update their phone, say, like every year, 2 years or 3 years, most commonly. And I think Apple know this too. So with that, I don't think Apple are going to sort of scupper their iPad sales anytime soon, especially like with the likes of, say, the iPad Pro in full swing as well. They don't want to get rid of that. So I think they're going to be holding out a little bit longer before they actually introduce a foldable phone that could start to scupper their sales of any iPads they have right now. Also, if you want to know if there was more evidence that Apple are looking to making a foldable phone, well, we do actually have some leaks here. Look at this one here from Ming-Chi Kuo. He said that basically there was going to be a foldable phone coming in 2023 or 2024. And I think because of, say, the likes of like the Vision Pro and many other projects too, I don't think Apple are focused on this just yet. And I think this is a little bit, ambitious that it'll be coming out next year. I personally think it's going to be a good few years away. I think we might see a foldable phone before 2030. But I don't think it's going to be in the next year or two, in my honest opinion. With that, in conclusion then, what have we learned from this video? Are Apple creating a foldable phone? Yes, they are. Is it going to be coming out, say, next year with the iPhone 16? Most unlikely. But what we will say is that Apple are looking into it, but they're waiting for that opportune time of when they can launch it, because they're absolute perfection artists and they don't also want to scuff the sales of any of their other devices too. And with that, guys, it's also time to wrap up this video. So if you have enjoyed watching it, please do press the like button, and also if you want to hear the latest Apple news, reviews and comparisons, please also make sure you subscribe to the channel and also hit that notification bell. Until next time, guys, I will see you really soon. Take care. Bye bye.